The sun had barely risen when Mark noticed ripples in his pool, but it wasn't from the wind. It was from her. Karen, the HOA president, was swimming again, pretending the water was hers. She thought no one could see her sneaking in every morning. But this time, Mark recorded everything. What she didn't know was that this harmless swim would soon turn into the most humiliating HOA drama their neighborhood had ever seen. Mark had lived in Willow Creek for 5 years, keeping peace with everyone. But Karen always found ways to meddle, from measuring grass height to inspecting mailboxes. The pool was his pride, his peaceful escape after long workdays. Yet, Karen claimed the HOA had rights to community inspections. And she'd often show up by mistake. That morning, Mark decided enough was enough. He'd already installed cameras, notified the HOA board, and even changed his pool lock, yet somehow, she always got in. He wondered if someone from maintenance was helping her. His patience was thinning, but he wanted proof. When he showed his neighbor Lisa the footage, she gasped. "You can't let this go, Mark. She's crossing the line." Mark smiled slightly. "Oh, I won't. Let's just say. The next time Karen decides to swim, she's going to make quite a splash." And that's when he began his quiet plan, one involving 50 gallons of bright blue dye. By afternoon, Mark drove to a supply store 2 towns over. He didn't want anyone from the HOA to see what he was buying: 50 gallons of safe, washable, pool-approved blue dye. When the clerk raised an eyebrow, Mark chuckled. "Big party," he said. But in truth, it wasn't a party. It was payback, silent, clean, and unforgettable. He returned home and poured half the dye into the pool that evening, letting it dissolve evenly. The next half he saved for the morning, knowing Karen's routine too well. Every day, between 6 o'clock and 6:30 a.m., she appeared with her towel and arrogance. That night, he could barely sleep. Not from guilt, but from anticipation. Would she show up again? Would the dye work as planned? The first rays of sunlight hit his backyard when his camera pinged. Karen had arrived. Dressed in her usual floral swimsuit and oversized hat, she checked around, then slipped into the pool like she owned it. Mark watched the live feed from his phone, and within seconds, the crystal water turned deep ocean blue. He covered his mouth, trying not to laugh as Karen swam, completely unaware that her private swim was turning her skin, hair, and suit a glowing shade of turquoise. It was perfect, and this was only the beginning. At first, Karen didn't notice. The morning sun made everything shimmer, and she was too busy admiring her reflection to see her mistake. But as she climbed out of the pool and wrapped herself in a white towel, she froze. The towel was streaked bright blue. She looked down, screamed softly, and dashed toward her car. Mark, watching from his porch, barely contained his grin. Her skin was tinted, her blonde hair now greenish-blue, and her flip-flops left blue prints on his driveway. By noon, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. "Did you see Karen? She looked like a smurf." Someone joked at the mailbox area. Karen stayed inside for hours, blinds shut tight, but Mark knew this wouldn't end quietly. Karen wasn't the type to let embarrassment go. That evening, an HOA notice appeared on his door: "Unauthorized pool alterations violate HOA guidelines. Immediate action required." He laughed in disbelief. She had turned her own mistake into a complaint. The next day, a board meeting was scheduled, and Mark planned to attend with full video proof. He downloaded the footage of her sneaking in, swimming, and turning blue. "Let's see you explain this, Karen," he muttered. For once, justice would be crystal clear, or in this case, bright blue. The HOA board meeting was packed. Residents murmured as Karen walked in, wearing sunglasses and a scarf despite the warm weather. Mark arrived right after her, laptop in hand. Karen began confidently. "Mark has violated HOA property appearance guidelines by adding unauthorized chemicals to his pool, creating a public nuisance." Mark raised a hand calmly. "Before we discuss that, can I show a short clip?" The board president nodded. The lights dimmed slightly as Mark played the security footage, timestamped, clear, and undeniable. Karen's face drained of color as she watched herself trespass, swim, and emerge glowing blue. Gasps filled the room. "Karen," one board member said. You broke into his property?" Karen stammered. I was only checking for safety compliance." Mark leaned forward. At 6 a.m.? With a swimsuit? The room erupted with quiet laughter. Karen glared at him, humiliated, but couldn't find the words. The board took a moment before speaking. Karen, this is a serious violation. The HOA rules you enforce also apply to you. As the meeting ended, Karen stormed out, furious. But Mark wasn't satisfied yet. She had crossed every line, and he wanted her to finally face the consequences, because as funny as this was, it wasn't over. The biggest twist was still waiting in the shadows. 2 days later, a new letter appeared in Mark's mailbox, this time from the county health department. Someone had filed a report claiming his pool was contaminated. Mark sighed, instantly recognizing Karen's style. She was trying to get revenge through official channels. He made a few calls, provided his cleaning receipts, and the inspector who arrived quickly found no issue. But something in that visit changed everything. The inspector smiled. Funny thing, the HOA president who reported you? She also filed a personal injury claim. Mark raised an eyebrow. Injury claim? From what? She said her skin turned blue due to a chemical hazard. Mark almost laughed. You mean the dye she swam in without permission? The inspector chuckled. Exactly. I've seen some wild HOA cases, but this one's special. Later that evening, Mark received a call from the HOA's legal advisor, who, ironically, was tired of Karen's antics too. She's being investigated for misuse of HOA authority, he said. Your video might help. Mark smiled. Oh, I'll gladly help. Let's make sure this neighborhood finally gets some peace. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about setting things right once and for all. By the following week, news spread like wildfire. The HOA held an emergency meeting, this time without Karen leading it. Neighbors who once stayed silent now spoke up about her excessive fines, threats, and unnecessary rules. Mark quietly sat at the back, letting the board do their job. One by one, residents told stories of how Karen had harassed them, from lawn citations to mailbox height warnings. Finally, the new interim president stood and said, Karen Mills is officially removed as HOA president pending further investigation. The room erupted in quiet applause. Mark didn't smile, he just exhaled, relieved. Later, as he stepped outside, Karen stood by her car, still wearing traces of stubborn blue in her hair. You think you won? She hissed. Mark calmly replied, no. I think we all did. Karen glared, speechless, and drove off. That was the last time anyone saw her at a meeting. Neighbors began waving again, smiling, and even thanking Mark for standing up. Peace had finally returned to Willow Creek, though everyone would forever remember the day the pool turned blue. Weeks passed, and Mark's pool once again sparkled crystal clear. The neighborhood felt lighter, friendlier. The board officially cleared his record, and even hosted a small barbecue to celebrate the new beginning. As laughter echoed across backyards, Lisa nudged Mark. You know, you could have just locked your gate again, she teased. Mark chuckled. Where's the fun in that? Sometimes the best lessons need a little color. Everyone laughed. The incident became neighborhood legend the day the HOA president got caught blue-handed. Even new residents heard the story and would smirk when passing Mark's house. For Mark, it was never about revenge, it was about respect. About showing that rules mean nothing if they're used unfairly. He leaned back in his chair, watching the sunset reflect off his clear, peaceful pool. The water shimmered like glass, calm, pure, and drama-free at last, and that, he thought, is how peace found its way back home. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.